Anyways, so what we got here? It's very simple. Perks and I, a couple weeks ago, like a month ago, we got together and we're like, hey, people aren't really talking about OCW. And whenever they talk about OCW, it seems to be a very limited approach and it's over pretty quickly. So we, last month we've been putting together like an idea of what we're going to do and how we're going to do this. And unfortunately, he's not able to be here. So I'm not going to go over any of the material that he wants to talk about specifically. But I wanted to kind of get one out there. I guess you could say it's like a practice run. And who better to be on a practice run than somebody who can actually help me along the way. So Jim, traveling 90 miles per hour down some interstate, is calling in to help me out with this, and he has been very helpful, so thank you so much for being helpful. Appreciate you.
Of course, no problem.
Okay, so let me give you the general gist here. So Jimmy, how well would you say that you know stuff from like pre-2018?
Probably better than anyone who's been here for 2 years, to be honest with you.
Okay, so like that 2018 is like production era is that it's said that 2018 is the start of the production era, and I can see that when I look back. I'm sure you've probably noticed that as well.
Yeah, that's when we stopped putting music to our matches, right?
I'm pretty sure I continued that for a while after that because I really liked music during my matches. So I remember that I had like a Turmoil 200 match with Austin Lee for the CCW title, and I put music over it, and I just enjoyed having music over it. But yes, around that time, then the commentary for main events and then for pay-per-view matches did start. So yes, that's the end of that. It's kind of a natural one. So what I was actually going to bring up is there were this conversation between myself and Brian, like, what was the most impressive title run? And the problem is, once you look at it, it's like, well, the games were very, very, very different back in the day. And therefore the title runs were therefore very, very different as well. So like around 2018, especially when we start getting to that 2K19 phase, the way that titles are held, defended, changed dramatically. So before 2018, there's like 3 title runs that I want to kind of point out here, because for me, going back and looking at history, great deal of fun. I don't know if you're familiar with Leon.
Yep, Leon Hart.
Okay, so yeah, you've heard of him. So like, he was really freaking good at the game. He definitely was somebody who had multiple runs with the OCW title, and the one I wanted to talk about was like December 13, 2008 at Chill Factor. He defeats Nate Ortiz, which, defeat Nate Ortiz. Some people are still trying to defeat Nate Ortiz to this very day. And then he goes on to hold the title for over 100 days, and this is rare. Like, title runs back in like 2007, 2008, 2009, they're very short. Very few of them actually make it over 100 days. His did. But the most important thing, like the biggest thing that really stood out to me when I'm going through like these records and stuff, is his number of defenses. He made it to 7 defenses. And at that time, it was a record. The idea of somebody holding on to the title 7 times back then was completely unheard of. Nowadays, it's pretty common. But back then, the way that the games played, the way that things were defended, there's many more shows that were taking place. So Leon's 7 title defenses, as far as I can tell, was a record for the longest time. Then there was the first person to hold the title over 2,000 days, minus Mayhem, but there's asterisks for reasons. And that's Parker Stevens. And like he's a very divisive figure in OCW, but he did make it over 200 days around the same time. So that's like a title run that I like to point out. I look at it like it's really freaking impressive what he's able to do. Like, he played, I don't know if this happened during his title run, but he like played with a mangled hand and shit. So he was, just a beast, and people still like sing his praises and stuff. Another person, like, I gotta point this one out, Tobin Frost. He was impressive for a different reason. he held the title for 4 minutes. I don't know. Have you ever looked at the title sheet and seen?
Sure have. Yes, I actually input the records into the website, so I have looked at the entirety of the title sheet.
Yeah, so Tobin Frost, obviously impressive, different reason. If I'm not mistaken, I know this is true for the world titles, but I think it's true for all titles. Maybe the hardcore one, but there's not really records for the hardcore one yet. That's the shortest title reign of all time. So it was won in a perfect circle, defeating Sean McGee and Parker. But then he was defeated by Paul Pugh. So Paul Pugh has claimed to have been the person that caused the shortest title reign of all time.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
That son of a bitch. He might be a bigger dick than I am.
He might be. I mean, your character-wise, you're like really playing a terrible frickin' person. Absolutely. But I mean, all jokes aside, that the fact that like I can't recall how many perfect circles there have been. I can think of only one other perfect circle that has actually taken place, and Trey Golden was involved with it. So by default, that means that Trey Golden had 3 feuds come from one match, which is very impressive. Congratulations, Trey. But I don't know. When you were looking through all those other things, like before 2018, was there anything that like stood out to you when you were looking through those?
I mean, obviously the number of title reigns, and you mentioned earlier that like OCW used to run like 4 shows a week. You know what I mean? Like it used to be the wild, wild west. Like there was a show like 4 days out of the work week almost. So honestly, obviously the number of times that Nate Ortiz's name shows up on that list is astounding. Okay, so I'll throw that out there right now. I think we all know he's the GT GOAT and the whole entire thing. But if you go back in kind of the archives, Nate Ortiz kind of carried the company from like 2006 to probably like 9 or 10, like almost single-handedly.
Well, I'm trying to remember it off the top of my head. I'm going to look it up here. Because I remember when I was going through and I was getting the records situated and stuff. And one of the things that I was supposed to do is I had to look up and find out how many times did Nate Ortiz hold a world title. So I actually did get that number. It's been a while since I've looked at that sheet to actually get that number, because like 2016 he got to his 6th world title reign with the OCW.
That seems low, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so that's OCW title only. When you then include the CCW championship, which did get retired in 2008, and then he's actually the guy who unified the OCW championship with the CCW championship. When you get into that, we're looking at 8 world title reigns. So that is a record that I seriously doubt is gonna be reached. Somebody would have to be around for a very long time, and the fact is, back in the day, the title was more prone to changing hands, especially from like I mentioned Leon, like he beat Nate Ortiz to win the title, but he and Leon and Nate Ortiz had then Sensation. They traded it back and forth for close to half of a year. They just went back and forth all through 2008. The latter half of 2008, they just traded back and forth.
So what you're telling me is Jay has actually been the OCW champion for the last 10,000 days.
Well, I mean that's what the meme is. Jay is only a one-time champion. I'm pretty sure if I remember that storyline, because I actually went back and looked at that storyline, there was betrayals from all 3 of them. Like Jay betrayed Nate, and Nate betrayed Jay, and Leon betrayed Jay, and it was a very convoluted mess. But it was fun to read. I remember going back and seeing that. So Nate Ortiz, 8 world titles. Who's going to touch that? I don't think anyone's going to touch that.
But I mean, like let's bring in some context. There were so many like insurrections during those periods too, of people like trying to fuck on Jay and like start new feds and come in and out like on top of all of this. So like put the turmoil, like, no pun intended, that was involved in that era on top of all of that, right? And it's even more impressive.
Oh shit, it's impressive no matter how you cut it here in terms of how many times he became champion and then stayed consistent enough to stay within the within the title scene. I think that's something that gets lost a lot in the modern days. Like the idea of somebody loses, but then it's still good enough and they tell the story well and people want to work with them. That part right there, people want to work with you. The idea of somebody being able to stay consistently always near enough to reach the title is very impressive, and obviously that was taking place back then, and that could be for multiple reasons, trust, quality of the work, etc., etc., a combination of all things. So out of curiosity, like if you had to throw out a name just for shits and giggles here, okay, modern day, who do you think could actually get 2-8? Like, who do you think would actually have a chance to get 2-8?
You. I think you're actually pretty close to that. If we're being honest. If you look
no, I'm not. I'm not.
Yes,
I am.
You beat Okay, let's count this out. You beat.
No, I can count it out. I got it right in front of you. I'm only a 4-time champion. I'm only 4 times.
Oh, see. I thought we were talking about defenses. No.
Oh,
okay.
defenses.
So
okay, no. That's different. Actually, I do have the title defense for world titles. I'm at 10. Although I think it could get broken because Deborah's at 9, coming up against Emp here. I do have that.
Emperor's ends careers. I'm sorry, she ain't breaking that shit. That's why Deborah's working with her. Ends careers. So that's what she does.
No, just talking about world title reigns, like number of. I'm at 4, and I've been here for I don't know, like 2015.
Are you sure it's 4? I thought it was 5, but you would know better than I would.
No, it's at 4. I've never held the OCW title, so like there's no numbers there. It's at 4.
I mean, I would throw Perk's name out there, but the whole thing is like he's ready to evaporate, and he's at 3, so that's like not going to happen. I mean, modern day, if people were to stick around enough, there are some names that I could see sticking around for a long time and winning a bunch of titles, but the question is they've never even won championships, so that's very presumptive of me. You know what I mean? Like, or at least world titles, I should say. You know what I mean? And of our current crop, honestly, there's a lot of old stars that hold the titles. Like, you know what I mean? Like, when I mean by old stars, I'm talking about like, from my perspective, an older star is like Max Edwards. Max Edwards has been here how many years? What, 6 or 7 at this point?
I want to say Max came in around 2018, somewhere between like 2018 and 2020, maybe. But
but that's kind of my perspective. Is like Max Edwards won the title. Like, we don't have a lot of even then we don't have a lot of people who are like young faces. There's no Doc Green who's a rookie world champion, or you know what I mean. So it's like kind of hard to say that anyone could ever get to 8 if we're really looking at it objectively. I mean, like, given the opportunity, I could see someone like Bullock winning a couple of them, but I don't know they'll stick around to get to 8. He's a good worker. He does his thing. You know what I mean? But that's all super presumptive that he even makes it that far and gets to that level and the whole entire thing. Of our current main event, I don't see it. I just don't think people want the title. Like, if Russ Cole wanted to do it, Russ Cole could probably win the title 8 fucking times. Sorry for all the cursing, but he could probably win the title 8 times, but I don't think he has the will or the want to do it, right? Like, you could probably say that about a couple of people who are in that position. Quartz, if he was sticking around, probably could have won the title 8 times, but he's not going to. We all know that that's probably not going to happen unless we get a reboot from Jade and here he comes. You know what I mean? So as far as current main event crop, Rex. I mean, Rex would I would make the argument probably has the best chance just because he wins and loses the title. His reigns aren't very long. You know what I mean? So he could win it a couple more times and lose it pretty quickly. At least historically, his reigns haven't been very long. You know what I mean? So to get to 8, it's not necessarily you were a great reigning champion. It's just you were in the position and you know, won the title, you lost it, you won the title, you lost it type thing. That's probably what's going to get you to 8, not what you're doing, defending the title 6, 7, 8 times in a single title reign. Like, you know what I mean? Right. So you could throw that out there. I mean, Sheldon's young. Sheldon, you know, could potentially be a 2-time OCW world champion pretty soon at a young age, right? Which would put him in position, obviously, to be one of those leading names if he can beat Al Parka. So, you know, those are kind of the modern names. I just don't think the main event scene has those guys that are really interested in the title after they've won it 2 or 3 times. You know what I mean? How many world titles has Cass won?
Say that again. Say that again.
How many world titles has Cass won?
Okay, so nice little segue here, because Cass was the next person I was going to talk about here. So Cass has won the OCW championship 1 time, and we're going to talk about that in just a second, actually. And then he has won the CCW championship twice, but then he also held the Turmoil championship, which is a title that has since been retired for a plethora of reasons. So he's technically at 4, and there are a couple of people that are tied at 4.
If you ask Jay, that doesn't count, but
well, if you ask Cass, it does. So no,
fair.
But the people who are tied at 4 right now for world title reigns are Bingo, Quartz, Cass, H2O, and Aries, if I'm looking at this right, and Paul Pugh. So there is a few people who are at 4, but I think you're right. You're probably right. It's the likelihood of someone getting to 8 of being around long enough to do that, and then winning, losing, going back and forth. It's just not the way that things have generally been run. So, anyways, that got me to the next point, because the other thing that I wanted to talk about here, the whole reason why this got brought up and we started looking through this champion history project is, it's like, okay, so who's the most impressive? You're looking pre-2018 and then post-2018, some really defined ways of like navigating. This is when OCW started doing this. This is when this started happening with an OCW. So what was the most impressive world title modern day run, aka 2018 to current days? And my pick was Cassidy Hayes. So Cassidy Hayes was the first person, full stop, not just CCW, not just OCW, but the first person overall to hold a world title for over 300 days. He won it at Chill Factor 2017. He lost it at Devil Night 2018. And impressively, he defended it 9 times, and that became a new record. Like, as far as I can find, Leon held the record at 7, and then Cass broke that record at 9. And he defeated Mugen. He defended it in the Hoot Chamber. He defended it against Sean McGee. He defended it successfully against the Jesus. He successfully defended it against KD, and KD again, and then he defended it in another multi-man match against... before that, he defended it against Spider, and then he defended against H2O and Spider in a triple threat match, and then he defended against Spider again. I'm pretty sure I said 9, and that came out to 9. I might be wrong. I might have said somebody's name multiple times. The point is, he defended it not only just like one-on-one 9 times, but he defended it in multi-man matches, and that's really freaking impressive. So whenever somebody asks me, like, a question like that, because it was asked recently, Bullock was like, hey, who had the longest reign? He doesn't have the longest reign anymore, obviously, but to me, that first reign, getting over 300 days, to me, that's the most impressive one, 2018 to current, bar none.
Yeah, so this triple threat match you're about to have, it makes a lot more sense now.
Oh yeah, and it kind of exists separately from it.
I mean, it aids it, even if it exists separately. They complement each other. You know what I mean, in terms of trying to strengthen the title run and then the story itself. You know what I mean? So it's a happy accident that works out that.
That's something that has developed naturally. Been waiting for years and years and years to get to. So I'm really looking forward to like things unfolding in that regards. But in my first, when I had my longer reign, I didn't have any triple threats or multi-man matches. So this will be my first defense in regards to a triple threat like that. So from your perspective, though, I'm really curious about how you feel modern day from your perspective when you look back, like you not pre, but post 2018. What stands out to you? We've already talked about before. What about nowadays?
If H2O's run with the OCW title, I went back and watched some of that. His long run, I forget exactly how long it was, but it was quite impressive. It stuck out to me as one of the times that someone really dominated for like a year long, essentially, right? It definitely stood out to me in that respect. And to give Aries some credit, his run from last season, had it not been cut short, could have been one of those runs too. He had put down some people. He put down Sheldon to gain the title. I think he fought him again, and then there was Owen and Russ Cole. And it was kind of setting up eventually, obviously, for it to be him and El Parka. We'll never know what that history looks like. But that one got cut short. But I got to see that in real time and thought it was some, impressive work in that respect. As far as the rest of them, Rust had a really impressive championship run, I thought, in the modern era too, where he won the OCW championship and held it for quite a while before he lost to Sheldon. So a lot more like lengthy title runs, like you said, in the modern era, as far as the OCW title is concerned. So that's kind of what I saw and what has impressed me about that list, and just kind of going back and watching some of the old pay-per-views and just run-ups to the pay-per-views to see, what people were doing at that time. So really kind of H2O was the biggest one that stuck out to me in terms of a champion and like a long reigning champion that signified kind of the production era. I know Quartz had a pretty decent run at one point too.
Oh, absolutely. Quartz did. So I'm not going to steal any thunder from anybody else, but there's other names that want to get talked about, and I know that Perks has specific people he wants to talk about and their reigns and stuff, and Quartz is definitely one of those names. And there's no way that you can really. I'm pretty sure I did the math here not too long ago, and that it came out that Quartz has the longest amount of time as a champion in OCW, like by days. So it is amazing the amount of things that he's done just behind.
Yeah, it's immeasurable.
Stuff, but as a competitor as well, like it's very impressive what he's done. There's a lot of names that you mentioned and stuff, and that's one of the things that stands out to me. There hasn't been as many, like we kind of got into this back and forth for a while. There's titles kind of been getting passed around a lot more frequently now. There hasn't really been a run of dominant champions in the OCW division since Quartz at 371. Nobody's gone over 300 days since then. In the CCW championship, nobody's gone over 300 days since Antonio back in 2021. So there's kind of been a little bit more exchanging of the titles back and forth. So it's fun to watch, though. I like the unpredictability of what OCW can bring to it. It definitely doesn't get stale, that's for sure. Is there anything else that you would have interest in talking about that would relate to the conversation that we just had?
If you're talking about championship reigns, what has always intrigued me has been the mid-card titles and what happens there.
Yeah.
You know, like North American and the International Championship. You want to talk about hot potato. Those things are hot potatoes.
Well, I think it makes sense that they are, though, because that's one, they seem to, the world titles seem to get reserved for, okay, they're going to be defended at pay-per-views, whereas, North American, International Championship, those are things that, I don't know, seems to fit more naturally to the idea of, well, they can be defended upon a traditional television show. Like, for instance, you look at the International Championship. I'm looking back through the history, and Sheldon won it at Riot. Bullock won it at Riot. Mugen won it at Riot. That's not really something you see in the World Titles division. North American title. Paul Boulay won it at Turmoil 300. Telos won it at Turmoil. Sino won it at a Turmoil. The Women's Pride title was literally just defended at our last Riot and stuff. So, as I'm looking through all these, there's a lot more defenses that are taking place on television, with the Turmoil and Riot and stuff, and that just doesn't happen as much. As a matter of fact, I'm going back through this to look through when's the last time that the OCW title changed hands on a Turmoil or a Riot, and
There hasn't been in the last 2 years, I can promise you that.
2017, there was a bit of a that one we're not going to talk about, so I'm going to keep going. Drago Caesar Riot 443 defeats Paul Pugh. So that's 2016.
Yeah.
For the CCW
so you bring
title.
Up Drago Caesar. You bring up Drago Caesar. Sorry to pivot on you.
Go ahead.
I saw that Drago had the OCW title, for like 8 months, and then he vacated it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. We're not going to talk about that one because I'm unprepared, and that is like literally a whole new can of worms. That would be such a divergent, and the person best suited to tell that story is Drago Caesar, and he's talked about it before as well, that entire situation that came up. If I'm remembering this correctly, then definitely something that would like open up a whole can of worms. Like that's a whole other episode that could be talked about.
Well, I'm not trying to start drama this afternoon. So love you, Melon.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So, point is the mid-card titles seemingly get defended more. I wouldn't say randomly, but certainly much more prevalent that a defense will take place on one of the shows and not the pay-per-views. So that being said, overall, I think that kind of plays naturally into it, but I also think that's a good thing, right? Because, mid-card titles, you're trying to see who's capable of holding these, like stepping up, who's, somebody that will transition naturally and well to higher up the card. So these are all things that would make sense for why it would be more of a, as you said, hot potato. But there's been some notable longer reigns there. Perks, held it for 335 days, according to this spreadsheet. Although there's, this debate about that, but I'm not gonna get into that. So Perks held it for quite some time, and that was the international title. And I don't know how many defenses he had. I do know that Jamie does not let him forget that he came up short on going for a full year. The hardcore division, one time, and there's no information in the hardcore division. That's a bigger project. I've heard of the mythical Parker holding it and doing some really freaking crazy things with it for a long length of time. But yeah, like the tag team titles, although I think the tag team titles don't really deserve to kind of get stated as mid-card titles. I don't know. I would think of those as like floating, right? Like depends on who's holding it. So
I mean, not all teams are created equal. I think the CQC runs are really like talked about in a legendary way. Lucha Country, for example, all of those things. But I mean, there have been some reigns that maybe were, they kind of did a lot more back and forth. I feel like the tag team titles have been a lot more stable in the time. I think in the 2 years I've been here almost, I think there's been 4 sets of tag team champions. That's it. It was when I came in, it was Max Storage, okay, and then the Future Idiots beat Max Storage, and then Great Glory beat them in the triple threat, and then obviously Mass Effect beat them to retire them. So those are the 4 sets of champions that have been here in the last 18 months or 2 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people talk about the tag division like it's when people talk about the tag division, it really seems to exist in this state of hyperbole. It's either it's amazing, the division is great, it's awesome, or it's the division is suffering, it's terrible, it's just not going well. Like there very rarely seems to be an in between in how people look upon the division, and for me, I don't really get caught up too much in that hyperbole. For me, it's like, okay, this, there's if there's a feud taking place, it's fine, it's good, and then people look behind it. There's nobody else. There's no challengers after this and stuff. It's like, well, that's the way it's kind of always been in OCW. There's definitely been moments where there's 3 or 4, maybe 5, even 6 tag teams, and they're all like jockeying for position. And it wasn't so long ago that we had that. Like, it wasn't so long ago where we had, Grit and Glory and Max Storage was just getting done, Future Idiots, Mass Effect come in there, Sanctum. Like, it's not that far removed from having a very deep tag division.
I mean, I think we have a pretty deep tag division at this point. If you really look at it, there are some teams that have formed. You got good old fucking Clickbait over there. We'll see what they do, right?
Yeah,
So you got Clickbait, you've got Underground Elite with Eddie and AC Cobra Jr. You've got obviously the champs, Mass Effect. Cascom, if they come out of this, could potentially factor in there in the future if they chose to. I think really, like DNS, you can throw us in there. We could be a tag team in any capacity if you want us to be. I mean, we kind of get thrown in there by default in that respect. And then really kind of the dark horses of the division after Perfect Storm kind of went away is the Lobby. If the Lobby ever decided to actually step up into the tag team title picture, they could honestly probably be some pretty long reigning tag team champions. You know what I mean? So I think really if they ever got into the picture, it would definitely up the titles and the discussion around the division a lot more. Right now they're kind of doing like the Legends tag thing and going back and forth. They got serious about it.
If you read the most recent Riot, or most recent Turmoil, sorry, you read the promo by Pew. Rust is like asking him, "Hey, what about the tag titles?" And Pew is like, "No, I'm in my prime. I'm doing great. I'm on a hot streak. We gotta ride this. We can be the free bird." I can't do that. Holy shit. I can't do what I would imagine Pew sounds like. So, like, he's talking about, let's be Freebird champions. Let's make sure that we take the title away from Mugen and we can like defend it together. And Russ is like, what about the tag titles? And he's like, no, that's later. That comes next. So we'll see, right? Like, it's obviously a tag team that has a lot of potential legs and stuff. So, but what I meant to say, or what I was getting at earlier, is that it doesn't really matter to me how many tag teams there are. If you have 3, hell, you can get by with 2. If you have 3, you have 2 feuds, and the way that you can navigate those can become very interesting in mixing and matching, and it could go for quite some time. So I don't get involved in that. Like, tag division,
I forgot the pivot, by the way. I forgot the pivot on top of that. So there's quite a few tag teams.
Yes, of course. We have the pivot as well. So yes, there are a lot of tag teams. So perfectly healthy. It's in a good spot. So I never do. Maybe I shouldn't say never, because chances are I have bitched and moaned in the past about it. But as of right now, like, there's nothing wrong with it. It's in a good spot. I'm happy with it. Even the women's pride title, like, okay, yeah, long time between defenses. I get it, I understand it.
I mean, Jamie stepped up and defended the title twice in 2 weeks, so I mean, I'll give him his due on that one.
Right, happened. It's over. Like, moving on. Okay, what happens next? That's the question that gets asked. And there's nothing to say. There's nothing to say about it. I know, like, Tibby said that he regrets bringing it in. I don't regret him bringing it in. I'm not somebody that says let's wait and see what happens. Like, I've learned that that's just not the right mentality to have. But I am somebody who does. Okay, why did this happen? Like, is there a reason for it? And when the reasons start to get, okay, this is what happened behind the scenes, that's when I, like, remove myself. It's like, okay, I don't need to know. Like, I don't need to know what happened behind the scenes. Like, X, Y, and Z happened. Not my business. I'm okay with that not being my business. So that's why I don't say let's wait and see what happens, but I also, like, reserve myself from getting involved in other people's personal things that pop up. Because this was a conversation I talked with, I think it was Bullock. I think Bullock asked something like this, like, hey, what title is in the best position right now, being single team? You know other titles. I don't know which one's in the best position. It doesn't. I mean, I'm happy with. I really liked El Parca and Max Edwards' feud. So, like, OCW titles healthy to me. Obviously, I feel really enjoying my time with the CCW title, and that's rare. Like, it is. It is really rare, actually. Like, a lot of us get, like, we win the title and then we're like, oh, this fucking sucks. And even during, like, my third one, which was my best one, like, it got to a point where, like, oh, god damn it.
Yeah, it becomes an anchor. I understand that. I understand the concept of being in it.
It does, but I'm really enjoying it right now. I get to work with. I've worked with some really diverse people. From Doc, Russ, you, obviously Antonio, Cass, Rex. Like, that's a diverse crew. Like, I get to work with a lot of different people. It's a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different ideas, and that keeps things really fresh for me. So I'm enjoying that. North American with Jinx. I was kind of sad to see Cino lose it. Actually, I really kind of thought, like, what he was doing was like, the title was helping him to develop as a character, which, isn't necessarily a good thing, because you're supposed to, like, develop with the title, or you're supposed to bring it to new heights, as I say. But I was really starting to dig the C-Note development, but the ongoing thing with him, Jinx, I'm very happy with. The international title feed held by Mugen, it pisses me off on so many levels.
Do you want to get into the babyface versus heel conversation? Because that's where you're going when you talk about the North American title.
Yes. No, I do not want to get into that talk right now, actually, at all. There's not enough babyfaces in OCW. That is, I'm clear cut 100%. There are not enough babyfaces. There's too many cool heels. I know that someone said this recently, and then Jay came into the chat. He's like, name them. Okay, well, let's name them. Bullock, definitely trying to be cool. Mugen's just, he's not cool. He's not an evil genius. He's evil. I love Mugen, but I can't. So
he almost borders. His character almost borders on scumbag with some of the shit he does, like stealing the international title opportunity from Nate Ortiz. Like,
right?
Walking out and signing a contract. Like I saw a lot of, like, scumbaggery in that.
that title is just so confusing for me because I really like Mugen's character, and I really like Pew's character, and I really like Russ's character, and I like them all. Like I'm really happy. I like Nate Ortiz too, a lot, and like seeing Nate Ortiz and Pew still going all these years later, it just makes me all happy inside, like warm and fuzzy and cuddly. Like I love it. I really do love it. I completely got sidetracked, so like I'm trying to name off like two cool heels. So like okay, so Bulk's kind of like that sometimes, not sometimes, all the time. Russ could even maybe like be defining that. He spent most of his time kind of being like that. Cena,
I mean,
definitely.
at this point, I would say no. I wouldn't consider Russ to be a cool heel, but maybe in the past.
Not now anymore. I don't know. Like, there's a lot. The thing is, you say there's a lot, and then you look at it, it's like, well, is this person really? I don't know.
But I mean, I think the honest conversation is that, like, if you're really looking at it, there are people who don't really commit. You know what I mean? Like, there are people who give you. John Carter is a great example of someone who's a confounding character. Who's 1 week he'll make this like real babyface stand, and then the next week he's a dumb douchebag or whatever you want to call him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and that's like, I like John Carter, like, and I like the person, but like, that's been confounding about his character for me, like this entire time that I've been following OCW. It's like 1 week he'll be like, oh, I'm a nice guy. The next week he'll be like, oh, I'm a bad guy. Just by his actions.
All right. Well, here's the thing, though. You're starting to. This is a whole nother cast.
I'm starting to veer. I'm starting to veer off.
I got this timer going here that tells me I need to be done, like, very soon. And you're talking about stuff that could literally go for another hour because, oddly enough, I think you were the person, like, we did this. You asked me,
we did.
Adam, how many faces are there? Oh, okay, let's I don't know. Let's pull up the spreadsheet. Let's take a look here. And you're like, oh, no. Maybe, kind of, sort of. And then it's like, you count Pew as a face? I count Pew as a face. Do you count Pew as a face? And, like, I think he's a face, but I would think a lot of people wouldn't. So that's the point. Like, this could be a very long talk, and we can't have that because.
Well, that's fine. We'll reconvene at some point for that talk.
Okay, we are gonna reconvene though. So, all right. So, well, shit. Like, okay. The point is, Cass has had the most impressive title run of all time, and that is it. That's fine. There's nothing more to be said about that. So, you can agree or you can disagree with that. I'm okay with you disagreeing with me because I will uppercut you to death again. Hopefully, you don't crash and rage now.
Nope.
All right. So this has been fun. Thank you so much for joining me. I don't even have a fucking name for this. Perks don't even have a name for this. Next week, Perks is gonna get with me here, and he's gonna be mad at me for doing this probably, but that's okay because I didn't talk about his stuff, and now he's gonna have context. And he's gonna be like, "This is why you're wrong. This is why you're wrong. This is why you're wrong. This is why you're wrong." And he's gonna be a nice little gremlin, and I look forward to hearing him tell me why I am wrong because I did not talk on quite a few things that he wants to discuss. So, Jimmy,
I'm interested to hear it.
Yes, Jimmy. Thank you for joining me because, Lord have mercy, no one wants to listen to me talk for 45 minutes on my own.
Oh, listen, I enjoy talking to you.
Yeah, you cut out a lot there, so you might have said you like talking to me, but nobody heard it. So
I do like talking to you, so everybody can hear it. All the BS aside, the people I like the most are the ones that I actually give shit to. So you can tell.
Is that why you say such mean things to me? Okay.
Oh, you got it. So.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for joining me. I am ending this, and if anybody actually did listen all the way through, thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.